Hello, and welcome to Under 1000. My name's Thomas Flower, and each episode I'll read you a new piece of flash fiction. All of the stories are 1000 words or less. Today, I'll be reading The Ugly Lie. Please be aware that this episode deals with themes of body dysmorphia, so if that's likely to upset you or anyone that you're listening with, then you might want to skip this one. It was a cursed mirror. Not that she knew it. When she would look into it in the morning, as she did every morning, she would only see a shell of a woman staring back at her. A horrible thing, grotesque to look at, and sick down to the very core. It was herself, but only the worst parts, which the mirror chose to highlight and exaggerate until nothing else could be seen. In its image, it created a fiend, someone so hideous both inside and out that they appeared indefensible and unlovable. It was not her, of course, but still, the mirror tried to convince her that its distortion was a reality. Of course, had Jennifer known that it was a cursed mirror, perhaps she would have taken what it showed her a little less seriously. Or, better still, she might have chucked it out and found something better to show herself. But she did not know, and so, as she looked into it every morning while she brushed her teeth and did her makeup, she was unaware that the person she desperately wanted to scrub away and cover up was in fact a fiction. You may ask what a cursed mirror stood to gain from making a woman feel bad about herself. It would seem like there was no reason to do such a cruel and horrible thing other than mere malice and spite. But in fact, the mirror had a lot to gain. After all, the more it convinced Jennifer that she was a repulsive, unlovable beast, the more time she would spend looking into it, trying to fix the small things she could, in the vain hope that she might get the mirror to show her the woman she wanted to be. And the longer she spent, changing her hair, applying more and more makeup, scrubbing her skin and practicing her smile, the more the mirror could extract from her, drawing away her time and energy. It was a vicious cycle. The worse it made her look, the more time she spent gazing into it, wondering when her reflection would finally look like the kind and caring woman she thought herself to be. And the longer she spent with it, the more power she gave over to the mirror, allowing it to present an even more grotesque image with each subsequent visit as it grew and grew in strength. The saddest part of all, however, was that after a time, Jennifer truly came to believe that she was exactly what the mirror showed her. At first, she had held on to the images of herself that she had seen in photos and reflected back from more trustworthy sources. She was able to picture a happy, healthy young woman whose smile shone brightly and who had a clear passion for her friends and her community. But as more time went on, as she gazed ever deeper and longer into the section of cursed glass that hung in her bathroom, she began to forget about the existence of that other person. She could only conceive of herself as what she saw hanging there every morning, someone ugly, broken, and corrupt, an almost subhuman creation that others would surely be repulsed by, either because of her disgusting appearance or because of her clear immorality. It wasn't true, of course, but her faith in it made it so. She began to shrink back into herself, withdrawing from the friends she usually loved spending time with, for fear that they would see her as she really was. But the further she withdrew, the more the mirror told her she was not worthy of even being in the presence of others, until eventually she could not leave at all, but rather spend her time only sleeping, eating, or gazing forlornly upon her own reflection, as she tried to determine what the next step of her never-ending quest to perfect acceptability would be. It was only when she retreated so completely within herself that she stopped even trying to make contact with others, that one of Jennifer's closest friends decided it was time to take action. She came to the house, knocking politely but firmly on the door and demanding that Jennifer let her in. She wanted to know what was going on with her friend, and she would not be stopped. Though Jennifer protested, weeping and declaring she was better left anyway, Caroline made her way in regardless. From what her friend was saying, she had expected to find her in some awful state, her body having deteriorated in some terrible way. Instead, she simply looked normal. She had more makeup on than before, perhaps, and Caroline could see the sleepless circles under her eyes, but other than that, she seemed much the same. It was only when they stepped into the bathroom together that Caroline could finally see the problem. Gazing out from the mirror was the saddest, sunken-faced creature she had ever seen. A being which was barely human, but instead a crumpled knot of flaws and insecurities. And standing next to this thing that was supposed to represent her friend, there she was as well. Looking normal, save for the strange, subtle blotches running across her skin. "I think we should get rid of this, Jennifer," Caroline said quietly, suddenly realizing the exact problem. And so, they did. It wasn't a happily ever after, of course. Jennifer needed time to recover, to be able to value and appreciate herself again. Learning to accept that you are lovable and good enough as you are is no easy thing, especially for someone who has been told the opposite for so long. But being able to really see herself was an important step, and it all started with finally taking power from the mirror. Thank you for listening to Under 1000. I'm your host, Thomas Flower. To follow the show online, look for Under 1000 Pod on Twitter or Facebook, or check out the website at under1000pod.com. If you'd like to support the show on Patreon, go to patreon.com/under1000pod, where you can sign up to read each month's stories in advance, as well as to have a thank you be read during these credits. The theme music is an instrumental version of In Between Days by Nick Tate and the Sharks. To hear the full song and more from the same EP, go to Nick Tate, Nictate, and thesharks.bandcamp.com, or search for them on your favourite streaming platform. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and that you'll join me again next time for some more super short fiction.